I return once again.
Yeah, happy Jojo June.
Happy Jojo June. God, dude, I'm getting a root canal in 5 hours. This is my last amount of joy for the next week.
See, we've been the root canal pals for the past 2 weeks. It turns out I do not have to get one, actually. So, my tooth is getting better. But you're fine.
Oh, I'm fucked. They cut me open 3 weeks ago, and shenanigans happened, and now the hole is healed. So I'm going in tomorrow, they need to cut me open again, and then actually do the procedure. I'm not... well, I'm gonna be fucked for a week. Right, yeah, we're finally balancing out the negativity I came into this channel with.
Yeah, now we're gonna, it seems to go like we talk about something we don't like, and then we talk about something we like. That seems to be the cycle that's going on.
Like, I shat on, in the first thing we did, I shat on Persona 5 and Nocturne.
You didn't shit on it that bad. Well, you were pretty constructive about it.
With Persona 5 Nocturne, I just shit all over, though. We did some other stuff, frankly, my memory is dog shit, but we've done other things, I know that.
Yeah, the most recent one was about Persona 3.
Which was such a treat to make. I've reached the point where I'm forgetting the things we have done. We're growing more powerful, but joking aside, let's try to get on track with this. So, Steel Ball Run, the best part of JoJo, or no?
I would say it's, I'm just a weird psychopath about this kind of thing. I think it's the best part, but Part 4 is still my favorite.
You mean, okay, I think I get where you're coming from. Like, Part 7 is the best constructed, but you...
Yeah, in terms of, writing quality and characters and stuff.
Artwork.
Part 7 is the best, but I get the most enjoyment out of 4.
I did not have the time to reread the entirety of Steel Ball Run before making this, but I picked some choice chunks of it that came to mind, or at least most of them. I didn't get the chance to reread Civil War, which is... I remember that being fantastic.
Yeah, that was a good part.
But for those of you who are familiar with Part 7, I guess I will just list off what I did read for those of you who are familiar. I reread Tusk, The True Man's World, Sugar Mountain, and Tubular Bells.
Nice.
Which are... That's a solid selection.
Yeah, those are pretty good. True Man's World, fucking great. Those are all good choices.
Yeah, mostly just because I'm a huge Tusk fanboy, but that's mostly beside the point. So where do you want to start here? We want to talk, general plot?
Yeah, why don't we start with the plot?
So, how would you... I think we could do this a bit of a fun way. Try to summarize Steel Ball Run in a sentence.
Araki starts writing about a race, gets Jesus' thoughts in his head, changes his mind.
If I had to summarize Steel Ball Run in one sentence, I'd call it the peak of Araki's journey into homosexuality. Am I wrong? Part 8 is surprisingly not nearly as homoerotic. Just my very mixed feelings on Part 8 or something separate altogether. Part 7's about as gay as it gets, if you ask me.
Part 7 is pretty gay. Part 5 has a lot of weird gay, undertones.
Part 7 is Brokeback Mountain JoJo.
It is.
It's two borderline cowboys riding across America. I guess with that we're jumping straight into spoilers. So something I will never understand the Japanese's obsession with Christian symbolism and lore. I hesitate to say lore in terms of Christianity, but
I guess the reason why is just because they think it's cool. It's kind of like why they like English so much. It's just a somewhat foreign, cool thing to them. Because most of Japan is Shinto, or they don't believe in a monotheistic god necessarily.
It's just a concept that interests them.
Yeah, they just think it's cool. That's why so many final bosses in JRPGs are the Christian Catholic idea of God.
I do not have much experience with Final Fantasy, but I've definitely seen a good couple of images over the years of the heavenly Kefka from the end of what I think is 6.
Yeah. And
other things that come to mind. The Japs really love their Christian symbolism.
Yeah, they do. Did you know that there's, a subsect of people in Japan that believe that Jesus died in Japan?
Is that what caused Part 7?
That there is a possibility that Araki heard about that and thought, that's cool, but what if he died in America instead? I guess this is just the Jesus Talk Power Hour, but the reason why some people in Japan believe that he died there was, have you ever heard of, the missing years of Jesus?
No, I have not, actually.
Okay, so the thing that's kind of weird about Jesus is that we kind of know, we obviously know about, like, what he was doing when he was born and a couple of his childhood years, but everything basically from his adolescence until about his 30s when he was crucified, we have no earthly fucking clue what that guy was doing.
So he went to the Orient.
So the belief is that he just kind of went to Japan for a while, and he loved the place so much that when he came back to wherever it was he got crucified.
Sandland.
Yeah, Sandland. Obviously the Da Vinci Code shit about how he didn't actually die or he didn't ascend. He just kind of stayed yutzing about. The idea is that he loved Japan and its people so much that he just went back there.
I mean, there's weirder shit to come out of Christianity. Like, at least that's... I mean, I hesitate to say, like, realistic, but it's reasonable in terms of theorizing. So yeah, now summarizing, like, the actual plot of Steel Ball Run.
Right, that's what we were talking about.
Johnny Joestar, genius, horse rider, massive fucking asshole to children. Dude,
he is a cock. He's like a genuine asshole.
Like, I like heroes that get taken down a peg, but Johnny pre-Steel Ball Run is such a piece of shit. Like, this,
yeah,
this kid,
he low-key deserves it.
Yeah, this kid was waiting in line for, what was it, like 8 hours or something?
Yeah.
So he just shoves the kid away. It's like, but I was waiting for 8 hours. Like, oh, that sucks. And walks right past him, and the kid jacks his gun and shoots him in the fucking spine.
Yeah.
I don't even think the kid got arrested. And
I'm not sure.
Yeah, to call that a fall from grace for a horse rider would be an understatement. But it turns out the whole race is a front for the President of the United States to steal the corpse of Jesus Christ.
That's so great. It's the greatest plot description of anything. Like, you just tell somebody, alright, so this is what part 7 is about. It's about this cripple and an Italian on a race, but along the way they stumble across the corpse of Jesus and the president's trying to get it.
Yeah, exactly. And his plan with the corpse is to make America eternal by having a saint buried on American soil.
He's actually trying to make America great again.
Yes, exactly. Funny Valentine is Drumpf, but, well, actually more crazy, but I digress.
Oh, I don't know. I fully agree with Funny Valentine's plan. I think it's great.
He's actually a cool dude.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you describe it? His heart's in the right place, but... Oh, there we go. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Because, oh boy, he killed a lot of fucking people.
Oh, he did.
He murdered so many people. But something I do wonder is, like, the stand, people acquiring their stands, like, oh, it's the Devil's Palm. It's like, okay, but how did Funny Valentine find all these people who got to the fucking Devil's Palm? Which is, I mean, that's whole backstory shit. I guess it doesn't really matter too much. It sets up... I mean, whatever.
I think in the Steel Ball Run universe, it works kind of the same way in, like, the previous universe, where somebody can become a stand user, or they can be born one. Like, you could either get it from the arrow, or you can just kind of be born with one, or, like, learn how to use one.
Yeah, the arrow, like, there is no arrow in the reboot universe, as far as I'm aware. I think it's just, like, I guess I can only really call it magical hotspots.
Yeah.
Like, the chick the chick that falls into a canyon in Part 8, or Johnny being in the Devil's Palm in the desert, or I guess Sugar Mountain to an extent. The Sugar Mountain Spring counts as some sort of hotspot.
Isn't there some shit about how the Devil's Palm got hit by, like, a meteor? Or a meteorite or something?
I think so.
Yeah, like, that's where the arrows come from in the old universe.
And I feel like stands are space bacteria or something.
They're basically like a weird, not natural space bacteria that causes us to undergo some sort of weird evolution.
I fucking love Jojo. The Devil's Palm, actually, when Jesus died on the western coast of North America, a great storm and earthquake tore and reshaped the land, which divided his corpse into 9 parts that would be carried by animals and other forces of nature eastwards. So the Devil's Palm is because the death of Jesus made...
Yeah, like, all the stands basically more or less come from Jesus, because, like, you touch a corpse part, you get a stand, is usually how it works.
Pretty much.
Like, that's how Funny got his. So, there is in the Steel Ball Run universe, stands are like a genetic inheritance from Jesus. Because he was the first stand user. His stand was Ticket to Ride.
Oh shit, yeah, exactly. I actually never put that together. You see, this is the fun part about Jojo. You learn something new every time.
Oh, yeah.
It's also probably bad that the wiki is our best friend, but that goes for a lot of things. And in the process of trying to make America great again via burying Jesus Christ in America, Johnny and Gyro, through a horrible misunderstanding, think the president is a terrorist. Like, the whole entire conflict of Steel Ball Run is a horrible, horrible misunderstanding. Because I think it was something along the lines of Lucy Steele felt threatened for her husband and said what she thought to the guys. And they're like, oh shit, Johnny, we gotta kill the president. Oh god, I'm on a watch list now. So I guess that's the long and short of it. So now I guess we can get into actual characters. So,
Sure.
Where is Johnny Joestar on your Joestar tier list?
He is my second favorite. Josuke is number 1. Part 4 Josuke, I mean.
Part 4. Like, for me, my top 3 would be Johnny, Jolene, then Josuke. There's going to be someone giving me shit for liking Part 6, I swear to god.
That's something I've noticed recently that's developing, is like, people are developing a Part 5 like, and then a Part 6 dislike. Like, that just seems to be the cool thing to think lately.
I don't know. I really don't know. I really enjoyed Part 6.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a treat. But Part 7 is still definitely my favorite by far.
Yeah.
And as well, just as Johnny is my favorite Joestar, his stand is probably one of my favorites in the series for several reasons. I really like the many designs of Tusk, and I think act stands are the most interesting type of stand. Mm-hmm. And Araki's used that idea, twice?
I believe he's only done it twice.
Yeah, there was Echoes and there was Tusk, and that's basically it. Like, I like the idea of a stand developing and becoming, like, better as the person learns. But, I mean, you could just get and be instantly a fucking god at it. Jotaro.
Like, the problem with Jotaro is that he makes up things with Star Platinum. Like, yeah, I can do the Star Finger.
Fucking Star Finger.
I can do, like, the Star Suck, where he just inhales shit. I can stop time.
Yeah, me and Neo stands are similar, even though there's, like, 17 buff humanoid stands. Mm-hmm. Does that mean fucking Dark Blue Moon can stop time if he just... if he thinks hard enough, can he use the world?
I can stop time, but only if I'm underwater.
That's worthless. Because then he can't leave the ocean. Now, as I said earlier, I really like characters that come back from nothing. And Johnny just being a scummy fucking cripple.
Yeah, that's what I love about him, is that he's really not a good person.
He's like, such a piece of shit.
Like, that's kind of a common theme with a lot of the JoJos. Like, Jonathan, I think, is the only one that you can say is...
like, an objectively good boy.
Yeah, an objectively good person. But then you have, like, Joseph, who's an asshole and he cheats on his wife and he hates the Japanese people. Or Jotaro, who'll just eat meals and then fucking leave the restaurant and beat the fuck out of people.
And then you have Josuke, who's like a thug. Or a wannabe thug, at least.
Like, Josuke's a pretty good boy, but he'll also turn you into, like, a rock creature and leave you there forever.
Yeah, and then you have Jordan, who is a literal criminal.
Mm.
And Jolene, a literal criminal. Well, we've already got over to... And, I mean, Joe 2K. I mean, do you call him Joe 2K or do you call him Gappy?
I usually just call him Josuke Part 8.
Mm.
But Gappy's pretty good, too.
Gappy's pretty good. Like him, I mean, he's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I think he's more just nuts than he is, like, an evil person.
Let me just splatter this man's brains against a fucking wall in broad daylight. Yeah. I still remember when I the first time he used this stand to dehydrate the person, and all the holes pop open on the side of their body, and I just start, like...
yeah.
I was, like, visibly traumatized, because I was reading this in school, and the teacher looks at me, and they ask me if I'm okay, and I just say,
"Are you okay?"
And I just say, no. And I put my fucking tablet down, and I just slept through the rest of class.
But yeah, the thing I like about Johnny a lot is that he's very selfish. Like,
he is a massive piece.
Yeah, like, a lot of the other JoJos at least have kind of the best interest of the group involved.
Yeah, they have some level of selflessness, but Johnny's just like, fuck you, got mine. Like, what comes to mind here? Let's see, there's the whole gambling thing. Like, there was the whole gambling, like, to be fair, they did have literal guns to their head, and, like, literal, as well as Sugar Mountain, ready to murder them. But there's still the fact that he just cheesed the shit out of those fucking people.
Mm-hmm. Like, Johnny will just straight kill a person to get a corpse part.
The same is true to an extent for Gyro, but Gyro definitely mellows out, especially after True Man's World.
Yeah.
And I really like the whole chemistry they have between the two of them, because Gyro becomes an anchor to Johnny's actual murderous rampage.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of True Man's World, is when Ringo sees kind of the fire of hatred and just murder in Johnny's eyes, and he's like...
Yeah, the murderous intent.
Yeah, and he's like, dog, this guy is fucking crazy.
Ringo was just the coolest fucking dude.
Yeah.
He gave no shits whatsoever. Even when he was incapacitated, when he had the full right to, he's like, nah, fuck this, I die like a man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the same goes for Funny Valentine. Every reason to surrender, but they wanted to die like men, which is another thing I really appreciate about Steel Ball Run villains.
Mm-hmm.
While most of them do get absolutely fucking obliterated, they do actually show mercy, or attempt to show mercy in several cases. They did to be fair, they were forced to, but they did let the last of the 11 men get off scot-free.
Yeah.
Among a couple of other things. Now, Gyro. Definitely my favorite Brojo.
Mm-hmm. I like Okuyasu a lot as well.
Gyro is only slightly beats out Okuyasu in my eyes. Just barely.
Mm.
I think the only reason why he beats it is because Gyro is, I guess, a bit more adult. I mean, I say that, but fucking shit puns that don't translate to English.
Yeah.
What was that one where he just starts to get where it's just like, I think it was like 2, 4, 6, get out of my way? And Johnny's just sitting there nodding like, yeah, that's fucking hilarious, Gyro. And, like, that's something I do like about the fact that it's translated, is like, you can just pretend that Johnny has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. And this is something that I actually found when I was reading True Man's World that I sent to you, and you were also like, oh shit, but you actually see Ballbreaker during True Man's World?
Yeah, I never noticed that.
In part, I didn't remember that at all. I remembered so much shit when I went through this, because I guess I just skimmed a whole lot when I first read it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, I mean, this one I was reading, like, the incomplete scans, because Jojo's Colored Adventure was still going through it. So I was bouncing between, like, a couple of translations after a point.
Yeah, that was the worst, back in, like, 2013-ish, up until about, like, recently, when trying to read this fucking manga was, like, a project.
Yeah, and then then there was that, 2 or 3 years where Jojo's Colored Adventure just did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, you look at them now, they have basically everything.
I believe the entire thing is done.
And, I mean, Part 8's ongoing, but
Yeah.
outside of that, everything's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Last I checked, they had 1, 2, 3, 4... They had the entirety of, like, the Black and White 5 translated. They had Part 6 translated, Part 7, and I think a little bit of 8. Also, the, Rohan spin-offs, which I've been meaning to read as well.
Yeah, I need to get to that, too.
I remember trying to read one of them in school. This was also back when I was still in high school, reading through a shitload of Jojo. I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to read Thus Spoke Kishibe Rohan. On, like, page 3, there's tits, so I turned it off. I'm like, well, I'm not reading this in school, fuck me. And, the last thing I really like about Gyro, he made it pretty fucking far.
Yeah, like, I think Araki knew that, okay, this guy's a Zeppeli, everybody knows he's probably gonna die, so let me keep the guy alive for as long as I can.
He actually made it to the second to last battle.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. And instead of just, I mean, I think Caesar's a little bit overrated. A little bit.
Yeah, I kinda do too. Like, I've never been one of those guys that's like, Caesar's death is one of the greatest in JoJo. I think part of why is just because Joseph is such a cuck that he completely ignores the sacrifice he made to get that antidote and just does not use it.
Yeah. What else? Caesar's death was... I hesitate to use the word neat, but...
It was neat.
It was very surface level. That's what I'm looking for.
Mm.
There wasn't... I mean, sure, there was weight to it, but the plot kind of just throws that weight into the fucking dumpster.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's Baron Zappelli, who I kind of appreciate his death because it came out of fucking nowhere, like deaths, kind of like how deaths are in latter parts of JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, it's preferable to, like, I guess the hand-holdy final words things that happened quite a bit in Part 1 especially.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, onto Lucy Steele. How well do you remember Lucy Steele?
Pretty decently. She's never been one of my favorite characters, but
she's a noteworthy.
yeah, she obviously
she does
matters.
a lot.
Yeah,
she does a lot, which was kind of cool. Like a, for the most part, standless person doing their own thing.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I like when Araki does this thing where relatively minor characters end up being pivotal to the defeat of the big bad guy. Like he does that with
Speedwagon.
Yeah, like Speedwagon. He does that with Hayato in Part 4, Emporio in Part 6. So I like that when he does that sort of thing.
Emporio saved the well, I mean, he didn't really save the day, but he killed the bad guy.
He did, yeah.
The death of Jolene still gets to me, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of death, Johnny's shit off-camera death in Part 8. Have you read that far?
Yeah.
Where it's just like does he fall off his horse, have a seizure, and then get crushed by a rock?
Yeah.
And it's just, I appreciate when deaths come out of nowhere, but what?
Yeah, that's a little bit sudden. Like, I've noticed something that Araki likes to do is he kind of likes to fuck with your
expectations.
Yeah, your expectations of how a character should die, I guess. Like, this is kind of weird to explain, but Kiryu Shikage gets run over by an ambulance, right?
There is a lot of irony in that.
Yeah, and like,
sure, we look at that now, it's like, oh, haha, but like, you put yourself in the mindset of like, when that counts, like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. And then like Johnny, who's one of the most powerful characters in this whole manga, the
spin is broken.
He gets killed by a rock. A rock kills him.
Not even like a boulder. Like it's maybe the size of like a plastic bag.
It's a bit bigger than his head. Yeah.
Yeah, like he. Think of it like this. Imagine Jojo getting killed by getting whacked in the back of the head with a fucking watermelon.
Or he gets hit by a shovel and just dies.
Exactly. Let's see, Lucy Steele. I feel like Ticket to Ride, despite basically being Jesus' stand, I feel like it fit Lucy Steele very well.
Yeah, definitely.
She spends so much of Steel Ball Run bawling her fucking eyes out, and eventually being able to actually turn her turn all that fear and terror into something actually useful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really cool.
It's like towards the end of it, like at the beginning, she's just kind of like a girl, you know, and then towards the end, she kills Diego. Like alternate Diego.
Now, we will discuss my hate boner of alternate Diego later, because I feel like this is going to be a point of contention. And I mean, Ticket to Ride itself wasn't that powerful. It was its like side effect that was powerful, where it's like the actual tear knife does nothing, but it makes those people disgustingly unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think one of the guys that she kind of just shanks with it gets like glass in his fucking eye and dies or something. Oh yeah, can we talk about how Lucy Steele took on Tubular Bells by herself?
Yeah.
Which was, like, she gets in that terrible situation where she's getting attacked by the president's wife and Tubular Bells. Both of her legs are shot up and destroyed. Yet she still fights to the fucking end and kills the president's wife in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I thought it was amazing. I also forget that Lucy is 14.
Yeah, I thought she was 15, but she's actually a little bit younger.
Yeah, let's ignore the part where she gets impregnated by Jesus' head.
Yeah, what a weird fucking thing to say.
She looked into a fireplace and gave birth to the head of Jesus Christ. I can't wait for the people who ignored the spoiler thing and are hearing this right now. Like, you know there's going to be someone who's listening to this in the background and they hear that, and they tab right the fuck back in. And then we go on to Steven Steele. Which, I mean, he doesn't do a lot, but the one part that comes to mind is how he survives, like, 4 revolver shots to the chest and still manages to save Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, he's a tanky motherfucker. I like that. Do you remember anything, like, significant about him? I like the few scenes that he had, but he didn't really do a lot.
Yeah, he's kind of just a pawn in Funny Valentine's big, stupid game.
And then there is my favorite villain in JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
President Funny Valentine. Where do we even fucking start with Valentine?
So here's something that's funny, is that originally I had a plan to do just a video about Funny, but when the idea of us doing a Part 7 discussion came about, I kind of put that aside, but I kept the notes. So I have no notes about everything else in Part 7, but I have notes about Funny Valentine. Yeah!
So, is this going to become the Funny Valentine podcast?
Yeah, it's time for the Funny Valentine cast.
You better make a second image to shove over this.
Alright, I will.
So, I mean, as we discussed earlier, his plan wasn't entirely evil. He's the epitome of, like, a misunderstood patriot. And his batshit, ridiculously metal... Like, that is the kind of shit... How do I describe it? It's... The Funny Valentine's plan is what happens when a Japanese person watches Rambo after doing a shitload of coke.
Yeah!
Which, for all I know, is how Funny Valentine came up with his plan to fucking be... I mean, it was like the 1800s. People loved their fucking coke back then. Dirty Deeds done dirt cheap.
It's probably my favorite ability, like stand ability in JoJo.
The one bit that comes to mind is when he's on the boat with Lucy, and the one guard's like, "Hey, buddy, come here." And the guy's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, a little bit further, like he's framing a picture, and just slams the door into the fucker's face. And when he pulls it back, it's just a boot.
And
he's like the Dojan. Like, yeah, I think that translates to "tada," right?
Something like that. I don't think it's not like a word in Japanese. It's just kind of a weird like expression.
Yeah. So, like, Funny Valentine amounts to, like, a fucking magician. Another bit I love is how he was just, like, this disgusting fucking obese man, and he's like, "Oh, let me just shove this Jesus' torso into mine," and he becomes fucking jacked instantly. That's something I loved. He cheated to become, like, the most attractive man.
Yeah, I mean, like, wouldn't you? If you had the power to just do that, like, I would switch my fucking body with a more attractive me.
Well, you just want to take Jesus' ribcage down and then become fucking 6'4" and ripped.
Yeah.
Fucking manlet Fither over here.
Listen, at least I'm not like Funny where I'm a manlet and fat. Like I'm some kind of weird hobgoblin.
At least I'm average height and fat.
Yeah.
So at least I wear it well. And let's continuing along. I've read the one bit of Part 7 that I have read over and over at length is the entirety of Love Train. Like, I think when I was younger, I had nightmares of the bit where he's just riding the train rails inside Love Train and just, like, trying to fucking grab them from the light. You remember all those, like, borderline cutaway gags where Johnny's murdering civilians trying to attack Funny Valentine?
Yeah. Like, he doesn't really care too much either. He's more just like, shit, I missed.
Shoots it in, you get a jump cut to, like, Western Europe with like 7 civilians falling in front of a steam train. I think my personal favorite is he shoots the nail bullet and it jump cuts to like an African shooting his friend in the throat.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh no, my brother, no." It's like, what the fuck? Like they're all so twisted. It's a fuck.
Like, that's the thing about Funny's plan that you could consider kind of evil, is that what the corpse does is it deflects evil. It doesn't negate it, necessarily, it just fucks it off.
Yeah,
and sends it somewhere else.
So, like, that makes me wonder, what if, like, America's stand became Love Train? Like, imagine the horrors that would happen to the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, fucking hurricane over, I guess, like, Washington, D.C., like, that's a country gone on the other side of the world. So, what else is on your Funny Valentine notes? Let's hear this.
Oh, boy. Okay, so here's, I have a lot of lists about why I agree with Funny Valentine and why I would vote for him. So, first of all, why I love Funny Valentine.
Here we go, Griffith lover.
Yeah, but more or less, I kind of feel the same way I feel about Griffith as I do about Funny, because I agree with the plan. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Right. So, Funny Valentine, I think, is the only JoJo villain that has a good plan in terms of, like, what is beneficial to society. Dio's kind of just a selfish asshole.
What even was Poochie's plan?
Poochie? Oh my god. Okay, so Poochie's shit was, he wanted to create a world, like, where everybody knows exactly what they're gonna do in the future, because of the whole, like, universe reset thing, where the universe runs its course and then starts over.
Right.
So everybody would know everything they're gonna do. Like, when Emporio's in the new universe, there's some shit like, he's in the prison and there's these guards, and he's like, dude, you're gonna trip over this thing. Or it was something like that, and he's like, yeah, I know. So, and then Poochie's like, yeah, dude, isn't this great? Now everybody knows exactly what's gonna happen in their lives, and they will be able to become the masters of their own destiny.
Oh, there's a discussion to be had there.
Yeah. Dude,
we need to sit down one day and just talk about the JoJo villains, because some of them get fucking deep.
So, like, I think that's a cool plan, but that feels like, that one Nocturne reason, Shijima, I believe it is, which is the world of stillness, where nothing ever changes. Like, to me, that would be just fucking hell. Knowing every single thing that's gonna happen and not really having...
Nothing is a surprise anymore.
Yeah, not having much influence over it.
Everything is boring, which is... It's just... I don't even know how to describe it. You could probably come up with a word for it better than I could.
And then you've got...
joyless.
Yeah, it's like, at that point you're barely even alive. You're just like going through the motions. It's like watching a movie you've seen already.
Well, what other notes do you have?
Okay, so I've always liked kind of the concept of villains that are pursuing something that's great. Something that's, like, grand, you know? Like Griffith, he's like, I'm gonna make this kingdom, I'm gonna be the fucking best ever. Fucking who cares how many people die in the way of my path here. Or, like, you've seen Gurren Lagann, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so, or like the anti-spiral, who's like, these spirals are such stupid idiots. Like, the existence of the universe is more important than the joy that's within it, necessarily. Or like Funny Valentine, who's like, what is the point in, like, I can make this nation the greatest nation on Earth, but the rest of the world has to suffer, and I'm okay with that.
Which, I mean, fucking go America and all that, but that's a lot of people you're taking over, my dude.
Yeah, exactly, but that, like, I'm okay with that, because that's kind of why I agree with the philosophy of Griffith. Like, the world is a competition when you get down to it. Humanity at its core is, like, we have conflicts with each other. We want to be the very best that we can be. Which is part of why, like, this is just weird Fither politics time. That's part of why communism doesn't work.
Oh,
is because there's no way to sit there and make humanity equal, because our evolutionary drive is to be the best and to survive and to eat and to beat the other life form that's going to give us that food.
Cue clip of me burning the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, and Funny Valentine has kind of taken that philosophy to heart. Because Funny Valentine fought in, I believe it was the Civil War. It was either him or his dad who fought in the Civil War.
It was his dad.
Yeah, so his dad fought in the Civil War. I'm not sure which war Funny fought in.
It might have been one of the many skirmishes against the Indians.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think it was some war against the Native Americans. But Funny Valentine, his dad dies in the Civil War, and that kind of ignites this spark in him of realizing the value of nationalism.
Taking the first napkin.
Yeah, and taking the first napkin and deciding, you know what, whoever strikes first wins. And that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to life and the world, is like, you see all these, this is just Fither alt-right power hour, but you see all these fucking African nations that are just sitting on their asses not accomplishing anything, really?
Right.
Whereas, like, the reason why the British Empire and, like, the United States and all this shit were number one, or like the Roman Empire, is because they were the ones who took the first napkin and decided we're the ones who are going to conquer, we're the ones who are going to win and expand our influence.
You're going to piss off so many fucking people.
That's fine by me.
You really love stirring the shit. I kind of love it.
If you look throughout the course of history, it is very rarely the outside influences that bring about the end of a nation. It's infighting within the nation and the power struggle. That's what causes it to fucking collapse.
I mean, that's what killed the Romans. They spread way too thin, and the barbarians were just like, oh, their capital is practically unguarded. Let's burn everything.
Yeah, that's what happened with the Soviet Union, was they spread themselves too thin. There was too much infighting.
And the Afghan War was the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, there was too much infighting within the Soviet Union, and eventually Gorbachev was like, I'm retiring, there's no more successor. Fuck you. And that's what happened to the Soviet Union. So, Funny Valentine realizes, because his dad dies in the Civil War, and the foolishness of in-nation conflict, and realizes the value of unity and victory within a nation. Like, George Washington was the same way. I was reading about George Washington, not really in preparation for this video, but more just kind of...
in general, yeah.
Yeah, just in general. And the thing that's interesting about George Washington is when he made his, I forget exactly what it was called, but it was like his letter of resignation and his advice for how the nation should, how it should be, right? He was like, don't form political parties. That's stupid. We're gonna get fucked over by doing that. Don't waste, this is a great one. Don't waste your time getting involved in Europe's bullshit. They're fucked. They're gonna destroy themselves. Don't become like them. And so instead we don't follow his advice, and then we end up how we are now.
We should have stayed isolationist.
We should have! And that was what Funny was thinking, is, okay, America first, make America great again. The conflicts of the rest of the world are so stupid and so petty that if we get involved with them, we're just gonna fuck ourselves
down.
We're just gonna fuck ourselves. So why not, instead, we use the corpse, supplant it within our own nation, and any and all suffering and negativity is just gonna go towards them, and we'll become the greatest nation on Earth, and we will take the first napkin, and we will win!
You are getting riled the fuck
Dude,
up.
I'm excited! I love talking about Funny Valentine.
Oh god, dude, I'm going to have so much joy reading the comments on this one.
Dude, I'm sure it'll be great. So that's why I love Funny Valentine, is because his plan is correct. I agree with it 100%. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Jeep is the coolest name for a stand, and it has the coolest power for a stand.
And Funny Valentine's death, how even when he was defeated and had a chance to live, he's like, nah, fuck this, I die like a man. And he, like, his death in that monster shootout. So good.
Yeah, like, you haven't played Eyes of Heaven, right?
I did not have a piss poor, so I cannot.
Okay, so I'll just tell you what happens in that game. Is basically that's a universe where Dio ends up being the one who succeeds in doing Poochie's plan, and so he ends up with a stand called The World Over Heaven.
Right.
Which is like the most broken thing ever. And then the next thing he wants is the corpse parts from the Steel Ball Run universe, because he thinks that's really cool.
That's so broken.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that he needs Funny Valentine's power in order to make that happen. Like, Funny Valentine is a pivotal part of the story in that. And all the other JoJo villains work for Dio, except for Funny. He is the only one, it's like really badass. I'll send you the clip of it, like, after we're done recording, where Dio is like, yeah, I'm gonna conquer the world. And Funny is like, you know what, I cannot abide by this plan, you are evil, you do not have the best intentions of, like, humanity, on your side. Everything I do in the name of justice. And he charges at him and he loses. Bad.
Instantly.
Dio Over Heaven is really broken.
Isn't it like, I remember watching the Best Friends play this years ago, it punches you and it can fuck up everything?
Yeah, it punches you and it can change reality however it wants.
It beat Experience Requiem.
Yeah.
Anything else comes to mind about Funny Valentine?
Oh no, I just love Funny Valentine. He's probably my favorite fictional antagonist. And he's kind of like, whenever I look for villains, I'm just like, can they compare to Funny? And like, his plan.
Now, the final and most important part of Funny Valentine, that fucking design.
Mm-hmm. Is so good.
He wears the donut hair a lot better than Giorno did. And now, I think we've blown our load a bit early here, because there's like 3 more characters on this list.
I've just had my Funny Valentine orgasm. I can have like a mini orgasm over Diego, but like the first Diego, not alternate one.
I mean, first Diego, I like him. We should just go over in fucking order. Hot Pants.
Hot Pants!
I'm just going to read my first note here verbatim. To this day, I still don't know if it's a man or a woman, and I refuse to check the wiki because it'll ruin the mystique. I
could give you the answer, but I don't want to ruin the mystique.
Exactly. I was rereading True Man's World, and they said he, but then I looked at their design, I'm like, no. I refuse to believe in either way. They are an androgynous monstrosity that I cannot describe. And, I guess, there was the Tubular Bells fight, which was amazing, and they got both of their hands chopped off at one point and did not give a single shit. And there was the fact that she was willing, that they were willing to hang Johnny and Gyro from a tree because they ate a cow. I guess it works for the time, but motherfucker, it's a cow. Now, onto Diego Brando.
Yeah.
I'll have my moment, and then you can steal the stage.
Sure.
He's such a slick motherfucker that he steals someone else's stand. Scary monsters. Retarded design. Amazing power variety. And I like how similar to Johnny, he's definitely a twist on part 1. I feel like part 1 was very much a rocky start to something beautiful. Like, that's when I'm describing something that's like, I call it, I forget what I call it exactly, but I call it something along the lines of like the Phantom Blood effect, where it's a really rocky start, but it leads to something fantastic as you go. That's what I call Persona 1. I'm like, yeah, it's jank. It's jank and kind of fucked up, but but I still think you should experience it with only further perspective, which, I feel it makes sense. I'm sure people will disagree, but
yeah.
People always do. He's, even in the new Steel Ball Run universe, he's still fueled by a vehement anger against his father, and a love of his mother, but in this whole thing, it's just a completely different dichotomy. Like, I think it was something along the lines of his father didn't save them when they were drowning.
Yeah, he kind of just fucked off and left them to just die.
Which is awful because his mother, instead of unlike part 1, we actually see bits and pieces of Diego's mother, and the bit where she puts the boiling soup into her hands so he can eat from it and destroys her hands on the process, and how that just fuels his hate boner for the entire human
that's
race
such a strong fucking panel
for bringing his family to that point, which is. Oh, that's an amazing backstory on so many different levels. And I guess the last part is, even in death, he saves the day. Well, yeah, feel free to take center stage once more. Okay, so when I first read Steel Ball Run, Diego is kind of just like, whatever for me. Like, I liked him, but I wasn't crazy about him. On the second read-through I did back in, 2016, I think, he ended up becoming one of my favorite characters. Because... So, throughout all of Steel Ball Run, there's kind of this overlapping theme of characters that want to achieve victory. And whatever that victory may be takes on different form. Like Johnny, his victory would be to win the race, to have his dad love him again, and to be able to walk. Right. For Gyro, it's to save, I forget what the kid was named, the kid he was trying to save. The kid who died of a cold. Yeah, the kid who died of a cold at the end. I remember when I read that. I was again at school. It was my last period of the day, so I just sat down and read it. And I finished it up, and I'm glaring at my tablet. I just go, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And my history teacher just glares at you from across the room. And I just told them I just finished a book, and they just, shook their head and went back to what they were doing. Yeah, that's the thing that I feel like if Steel Ball Run really happened, that's just something that would happen, was the fucking kid would die of a cold. Yeah, the kid would just die of a cold because Araki... ignoring the fact that Araki just loves punching people in the balls. I feel like in a similar vein to Miura... Araki fucking hates his fan base on some level. Yeah, I don't know if he hates them, but I think that his kind of desire to write his own story will always overtake the desire of the fans. Because, at least he's still going along. Sure, he takes quite a few hiatuses, but he's an old man. He's fucking earned it a lot more than Miura has. He sure doesn't look old. Araki is a weird vampire freak who still looks like he's in his 20s. Hey, check under his desk. For all you know, he's fucking draining children. Miura's starting to look his age at this point. Yeah. That man's getting rough. I think fucking jacking it to Idolmaster has finally taken its toll. Right. Any more to say about Diego? Right, so about Diego. Yeah. So, his victory is a little bit more weird to try and explain. Diego's not the type of guy who I think has... his goal is obviously, I'm gonna win the competition, I'm gonna kill Johnny and whatever, and then I'm gonna take the corpse parts and also, I'm gonna own all of Manhattan. I don't think he even wanted to kill Johnny. He just wanted to win. He just wanted the corpse parts, yeah. Yeah. So, he kind of reminds me of Griffith. Like I said in our Berserk thing, which you should go check out if you want to hear. If you like Fither's weird, totalitarian, fucking crazy person thoughts. Yeah, when you checked half my video. Yeah, when I stole the video. There was more of you in percentage-wise in that video than me. Yeah. Continue along. But yeah, Diego seems like the type of guy where he's so racked up in not necessarily greed, but more just kind of this inferiority complex of I want everything. I want to prove to the world that I'm great and deserving of this kind of fortune and this power. And on top of that, needing to justify how much shit he ruined on the way there. Yeah, that, he would never be satisfied with anything. There's always going to be something greater for him, and Diego will always be number one. Nobody else, takes priority over him. Diego's death is probably in my top 3 favorite JoJo deaths. When I first read it, I didn't really think much of it. But the second time when I had a better understanding of his character, I was like, oh my god. Because he's fighting Funny on the train, and they both get knocked off. And it turns out Funny managed to survive because of D4C, because he got run over by the train, and that let him... Yeah, he just pushed himself into the next reality. Yeah, that let him universe hop. But Diego is there, and you just see, his upper torso, and he's like, yeah, I did it! I won! Fuck you, Funny Valentine! And then it zooms out, and you see he's been, vivisected. Half of his body is fucking gone, and he's still... the word is bifurcated. Bifurcated. He's been bifurcated. And the only thing that he can think of is, I won. I attained my victory.
and he's thinking that as he fucking dies, half of his body gone. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's a fucking way to go out.
He bled out thinking he was the hero?
Yeah, he bled out thinking he won.
I mean, to be fair, if you got ripped in half, you'd either be screaming in pain or completely delusional. Probably both, because that's a lot of nervous damage.
Yeah.
I mean, shocker, I have a lot of trouble putting myself into Diego's shoes.
Yeah.
I guess it just comes down to how I see things. Where it's... I guess a lot of people in Steel Ball Run are very single-minded, very driven, and to a large extent selfish. And while I'm not a completely good person, I mean, who the fuck is... If I really like someone on some sort of level, I will put them before me, which I feel like a lot of characters in Steel Ball Run would not do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like, at the end of the day, why I like it so much, is because it's a story about fucked and selfish people doing fucked and selfish things.
Right. Thinking they're being selfless heroes.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in Steel Ball Run's off their fucking rocker. Completely. I mean, except maybe Hot Pants.
Yeah, Hot Pants is pretty okay. She's doing it for a more or less objectively good reason. And so is Gyro, but like, a lot of the other ones, it's all just me.
I feel like half of Gyro's thing is fuck you, Dad. Right, so Diego from another universe.
Alright.
I think Steel Ball Run should have ended after the fight with Funny Valentine, because I personally... for the vast majority of it, did not like Part 3. And what immediately struck me about the whole High Voltage arc was this is just a shitload of Part 3 fan service.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And I really fucking hated that. Because I'm like, you had the perfect notes. You fed yourself the perfect ending to Steel Ball Run with Funny Valentine, and you kept it going. I mean, I realize there's a reason for it, but I was extremely butthurt when Johnny got fucked and had to drop out of the race. Which, I mean, Steven Steele just rolls it like, yo fam, you need a ride, and just saves his ass. Actually, I just realized something while I was replaying the scenes in my head. You know how Diego was like, I won, fuck you, Funny Valentine?
Yeah.
The thing is, he did, because Lucy used his head to kill Diego from another universe.
Yeah, through his...
he still wins.
Yeah, like, he's the one who managed to stop Funny. Because, like, that Diego was just gonna do the shit Funny wanted him to do.
Exactly, and Lucy shows up and kills him with his own fucking head. And wasn't it something like the stop time didn't stop the head because the head is from another universe?
It's something like that, or it was like, I can't stop myself in the stop time, so the head is, like, fine.
Yeah, it just... what's the word? It just homes in and blows his fucking head off. I don't think she even cleans up the corpse like, well, that's done, and just fucks off.
Yeah, she just leaves.
But, yeah, how did you feel about High Voltage? Like, it had some fun into it. It had some fun in it. Fucking Johnny kills, like, 17 civilians. Johnny kills so many fucking civilians. Johnny is even an intentional scumbag in, like, the latter half of Steel Ball Run. He just kills so many people by existing. Right, I guess your thoughts on High Voltage.
So I'll agree with you. I think alternate Diego. I've always called this guy Diego in all caps, kind of like how Dio in Part 3 is always spelled with all caps.
Right, it's a much less of a mouthful than Diego from another universe.
Yeah, so
every fucking time.
Yeah, so Diego is 100%. Like, I think it's less him that's the problem. It's the world that's the issue.
Yeah, because it's his true stand, untainted by the corpse, and blah blah blah. I'm like, motherfucker, Scary Monsters was rad.
Yeah, no matter, I think if Part 7 was that was the only JoJo thing we had, the historians would be like, what the fuck was the world? Because it doesn't fit in with any musical motif, and it just feels kind of odd in Steel Ball Run in general. Because, like, Dirty Deeds is one of the only humanoid stands, really. Other than, like, Tusk Act 4, and Ballbreaker's, like, kinda humanoid?
Ballbreaker is a fucking lightning gremlin, like, that thing.
It's a lightning gremlin!
Yeah, exactly, you just go zoom, and then he just ages you, like, 17 trillion years. I really wish Dio from another universe just didn't happen.
Or if he just had, like he was just a more evil Diego who had scary monsters. Like, that would have been fine.
Scarier monsters?
Scariest monsters.
Now, the only fight I even took the time to pick apart was the Ringo Road Again fight. I love Ringo.
Ringo's great.
So much. He is my favorite minor JoJo antagonist.
Oh, same. I think it's hard to not have him as your favorite minor antagonist.
Like, despite only existing for, like, 3 chapters, he does so much.
Mm-hmm.
He is the reason why Gyro went on his story arc.
Yeah, like, that's the thing is, usually throughout JoJo, the minor antagonists really don't leave an impact on any of the characters, unless there's somebody like Akira from Part 4, who, like,
Or
killed
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, who killed Okuyasu's brother. Like, that shit matters, but Ringo installs this whole new philosophy into Gyro.
Right. Like, the way how Ringo works is he's actually near completely non-hostile. He only attacks in self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was Dot Han or something, or maybe Gaucho? I think it was Gaucho. He's just talking, she's like, oh, hey, you let me out of this fucking orchard. And he's like, alright, you want to fucking go? And he tries to pop a cap in him, he just blows the dude's head off instantly. And then it goes on and on, Johnny attacks, gets fucked, everybody gets fucking demolished by Ringo. Because Mandem is amazing.
Mandem is really cool. I like how it's a watch. Like, that's cool.
Yeah. And I love the lengths he goes to activate his stand despite all of the shit that he has going on. Another bit is just how they're still completely conscious of what's going on, even though they don't really know that there's a time skip occurring. Like, the whole fight of Gyro versus Ringo, where it's like, look, you're free to go. I don't want to fight. You can leave. I got what I wanted. And despite that, Gyro continues to march on because he's Johnny's friend. It's one of the few actually completely selfless acts in Steel Ball Run. And then the whole fight occurs, and Ringo's constant, like, he's amazingly clever. Like, despite having his entire left half paralyzed, he just jitters a fucking gun and twists the watch that way, which is so good.
I know, he shoots the thing. Like, that's great.
He shoots the knob. Like, it just goes to show that how much of a gunslinger he is, and how he was the start of the whole big point of dying like a man and accepting, well, like, not really accepting that you've lost, and willing to even throw it all down even when there's nowhere left to run. I mean, it does tie back into his backstory. I really like the backstory of Ringo.
Yeah.
Little piece of shit kid that couldn't do anything, wakes up one night and a soldier murdered his fucking family for basically no reason. And being gross old man in manga tries to rape the little boy.
Right, because of course,
thanks Japan. Despite being a sheltered little sick child, he still managed to make a grab for the gun. And there's scuffle, and Ringo, at the age of, like, 10, kills a man in self-defense. And how the second he realized that going down swinging is the way to go, his diseases were just gone.
yeah.
You could definitely do the deep read of this where it's like, I didn't really think of this ahead of time, but I can make an effort. Like, the accepting that there's no real point to giving up until it's actually over will push you to improve yourself, essentially. Like, so many people just roll over and give up when the going gets tough, and that's, frankly, it's a bit of a disgusting mentality. At least that's the way I see it. Like, Ringo is the epitome of you need to continue improving yourself and never be satisfied, never be content. Always want to move up, and eventually you'll reach the end of your rope. Maybe you'll be young, maybe you'll be old, but eventually you will reach the end. And even then, don't just roll over. Go down swinging. It's exactly what happens to Gyro. Even though he's already mastered the spin, he still pushes himself further and further and eventually acquires Ball Breaker. And him going down swinging is the reason why Johnny was able to win. The whole idea of Gyro Zappelli is one of the most well-fleshed out character arcs in JoJo. And that's really the length of what I've prepared. I did not think I'd talk that long about Gyro. Holy shit. The cast of Steel Ball Run, I think one of these days I should just sit down and do a deep read of everything.
Yeah.
Because I'm a lot older now. I remember a lot more now, and I really love to pick things apart. Because, like, all of that was just on the fly. That stuff I didn't come in realizing.
Yeah, that's the thing that's so great about Steel Ball Run, is that you can have just these conversations about the characters and analyze them that you can't really do with any of the other parts, really.
And then you just realize things on the fly that you just never pieced together before.
Yeah, like, I can't imagine somebody having, like, a really deep introspective look at, like, Kakyoin or like Koichi, even though he does have a decent bit of character development.
He does, but it's nothing like I feel like not a lot of it does apply to actual people.
Yeah.
a lot of the characters of Steel Ball Run apply to real people. There's Diego's turning his fury into a reason to continue to better himself, and then there's Johnny being content at the top and tumbling down, which does kind of wrap back into how the idea of the true man's world. And so much of it comes down to, I guess, the fire and drive that you have. I can't pin a central theme of Steel Ball Run, because the beauty of it is that it says a lot. I mean, it's long as shit. I mean, look at it. I think it's the second longest part of Jojo in terms of page count. So any closing thoughts out of you? Because I spilled the deep read that I can come up with at 3:30 in the fucking morning.
I'll save myself from going on another crazy funny Valentine rant, but yeah, like, Steel Ball Run is so fucking good, dude. It's like, every time you read it and every time you think about it, there's some new interesting shit about just, like, the characters or, like, the setting or the concepts within it that just make you think, oh wow, this is really good. Like, I think it's Araki's masterpiece part. If Jojo had ended at Steel Ball Run, I would have been, like, great.
Completely satisfied.
Yeah, that would have been in my opinion, the best way to end it. Like, that was his greatest work.
And I guess time for the endgame plug, except I have nothing to plug.
Yeah, you've kind of been, like, slumbering, just because you can't stream.
Yeah, so nobody really knows. I mean, I'm not sure how many of these people actually follow my shit. I mean, a good couple of bit come and go. What happened was I shit-posted way too hard. I made a shit post, I'm like, oh, this is funny. It's the guy gets, like, electrocuted and there's Initial D music over it. I'm like, yeah, this is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, funny meme.
Yeah, funny meme. And I'm like, oh, that dude's fucking dead. And YouTube's like, hey, you made a video of a guy fucking dying. And to say that that's taken the wind out of my sails would definitely be an understatement. And you'll know the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
In these 2.5 months now, I still furiously shitpost. I think as of right now, the last thing I posted was me attempting to burn the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, so if you agreed with my funny Valentine rant, go watch this video where he burns the Communist Manifesto.
Very, very poorly, I should add.
Yeah.
I guess the only noteworthy plug is the Berserk video.
Yeah, go check out that Berserk video if you like hearing more Fither psychopath, like, rants.
Funny Valentine was the good guy.
Yeah, he was. He genuinely was. He's the only one that has a constructive plan in mind.